nothing crazy happened. It was just more of love creating stuff, want to work with brands, work with other people, why not? I do have a interesting background. So I actually got my undergrad in visual merchandising, which started the whole UX experience. But I also got into UX way before when I was a project manager. So I have 5 years of experience. So I just want to give you guys that background, how I work mentally. So giving you that little background, I would love to get started. So is UX important? That is my question to you guys. A lot of people think it's interesting why I would ask you this question. It's because a lot of brands and companies out there don't think it's important. And they're wrong. It's very, very important. First impressions matter. I think people don't see that their websites or apps are going to make a huge impression for a user. And that could literally be someone on Instagram sees this great marketing for this app, clicks on it, terrible user experience, first impression down the drain. And the reason why this is so important, it's because it's going to set the foundation of their engagement further and their satisfaction. So going into that point, we're going to talk about higher engagement. So users have a positive experience are more likely to engage. We all know this. Happy person, happy engagement. It's great. And we'll spend more time interacting with the product and service, which is the goal. Sorry about that. And it's the goal to make a user stay on your site and not to leave it. So this is where UX is key to everything. Our job is really to cut the time and make sure that the users know what they're doing. But again, a lot of companies, brands are still learning this. But that's where we as UX designers or product designers can help out. And then lastly would be increase productivity. So effective user-friendly designs can increase productivity by reducing friction and wasted time on unnecessary steps or confusions with the interface. A lot of the times when I work with clients, this is like the biggest thing I work with is like they have too many steps. It takes like 5 steps just to sign in or 5 steps just to complete my account. How can I make that shorter so the user can be like, okay, that was great. My intro was quick. What can I wanted to like do this X, Y, and Z on the app. So less steps, the better the user will engage. Any questions? Great, awesome. And when we talk about this, there are some key principles of user-centric designs that I would love to talk about. And one is empathy and understanding the principles, the user's needs and desires. This is super important because it's all about the user. But balancing the product and the service and the user can be challenging because you're hearing the client, but you're also hearing the user. And this is where you can come in and really work on those two. And the only way you're going to work through this is really research, mapping, and applying all your tools and techniques. And going to that, the biggest thing is like simplifying navigation. Creating a seamless user experience by optimizing navigation and reducing the numbers of steps requires to access important actions and information. This is so important. I have a few clients who have a hard time with this because they want like 6 little buttons below in the nav on the app. And I'm like, no. Let's keep it under 5. I always say keep it odds. Odds are the best numbers versus evens. And a lot of the time they will like come back and they're like, no, we want more. But there's so many techniques. You can add a hamburger on the top. You can do all this stuff to add more navigation. So there's a lot of tools and like methods you can apply for the best product, like the best UX for that product and service. And again, it's working with the product and service that the client's offering and what's best for the users, what's going to really give you the best navigation. And then incorporating the feedback. So a lot of the times users give you some silly feedback, but they also give you amazing feedback. And the only way to do that is really being honest and open and creating these prototypes and testing it out. or even the active product you have out there, getting the feedback already. And we'll talk about a little bit more on that. But the key is learning from others. This is my model in life. And I think it should be a model for most people because you can learn from a lot of products and other experience products and services out there. So these are some of case studies I've looked up and I love, and I think they have impressive experience. Mostly Pokemon Go. I'm a big fan, so is my nephew, he loves it. But I think just alone we have seen this app come and go, but it's truly because the user experience is incredible for something so simple and just playing with Pokemons. But seeing how my generation in 2014, I believe, or 2013, when this launched, we were super excited. And then seeing my nephew who's like 10 years old right now, playing it and experience, it's just truly an amazing platform. I definitely recommend doing more of a dive in that case study and how they transition into their UX experience. And then Calm app, it's very well known. You guys have seen it a couple of times in ads. I think they're also popular for like celebrity autos too and stuff like that, like Harry Styles and other celebrities like that. But they're truly a great app out there for meditation because they just understand the users. And I recommend downloading, seeing it, doing all the study. But again, these are the 4 I would recommend doing a little bit deeper dive. But the question is where to start. A lot of the times as a UX designer or product designer, we have a hard time to figure out where to start. There's so many ways we can start our process or design thinking. And this is just an example of how I implement my process. So definitely understanding the user's goals and needs, defining that later on is what really helps me set the tone of my thinking. And then brainstorming. I'm a brainstormer. I have so many playgrounds in Figma that it's ridiculous. My files are a mess. If you saw my desktop, it'd be a bad example because it's very messy, but it's truly because I love brainstorming. And I recommend people doing this until they really have a good set of like, okay, this is a game plan moving forward to do a prototype. The prototype, my favorite part, but also my least favorite part, because if you guys use Figma, it can be challenging, but it's also a great platform to really set up the mockup so you can set it to testing. And testing is going to be something incredible because that's where you can really get feedback of your thinking. Was your brainstorm really going to solve the solution? Is it really going to help the user that you define? So this is just an example. I probably apply this to most of the people I work with, but I think finding the best method for you and the problem itself is going to be the best thing for you and the client. But going into tools, there's so many tools, there's so many things, but these are just some of the 4 I really like to work with. So storytelling. I love storytelling. I think everything in the world tells a story, which is true. If you think about content creation, if you talk about a website, or even movies, like they're telling a story. Reading a book, it's a story, telling a story. So think about how you, as a UX designer or product designer, can apply this tool into your projects. So engaging your audience by crafting impressive narrative is going to help you really understand the product and not give you a template experience. Because nowadays you can templatize everything. You can probably get AI, but really people want to experience, they want to have that storytelling. I think that's why people like AI a little bit, because they're engaging and AI has the storytelling, but you are asking for what story you want to tell it. So I can talk about AI all day, but we're not going to. But interactive elements. Interactive elements, I have a hate love for this. The reason why is because clients love interactive elements. They're like, I want motion here, I want videos here. And I'm just like, no, what interactive elements is going to help your clients, your users, your audience, whatever you want to define, what is going to help them? Because I can add all the animation, I can have a dragon flying, but it's probably not going to really help them. They're just going to stare endlessly at an animation and they're going to be like, okay, why was I on the site? So truly finding the best interactive elements for the UX is going to be key. And then imagery and sound. Quality, quality, quality. I cannot stop talking about this, and I've been talking about this since before college. If your image is terrible, users will leave. They will leave, they will explore other sites because it kind of looks fake. It kind of looks like sketchy if you don't have this high quality, or it's just like out of date. There's multiple negative feedback when they see this unqualified imagery and they're just like, oh, this is terrible, I'm leaving. So I would invest probably 30% on that with the client, just making sure they understand, like, you can design everything on that site beautiful, but if they have a bad image, out of it. I literally just had a client, aka a family member, who he wanted a website for microgreens. I was like, wherever your image, sends me the image. I was like, terrible. I was like, this won't sell. I need you to stop and rethink. He's like, I can't do it. And he sent me, I was like, I'm going to make new mock-ups on Canva. And I literally make packages of microgreens. So even if you have to do that for a client, just like a fill-in, just let them know it's a fill-in and guide them, that's great. But at the end of the day, you are not a brand designer or graphic designer, you're a UX designer, but telling them this is important is going to help them in the long run. And personalization. Creating a tailored experience for each user can be challenging. It can, but you can put them in groups. And I think that's where people get a little bit confused because, like, how can I tailor everyone? I'm like, everyone has a group. And defining those like 5 to 6 groups is going to help you in the long run. There's a church that is like very well known. They have so many different audience. And I'm speaking because they have a great website for a church. I'm not gonna lie. Some churches out there, highly recommend looking at them. You can learn a lot about UX. But they have a lot of like different groups of people. And what they do is like define who they are. So personas, great method to apply here. But understanding that these groups are being tailored in a different one than the other. That's what's going to make a difference. So with that being said, measuring user engagement. Yes, measuring. I know this is something probably most of you haven't really got into, but I have worked with so many analysts, developers, and like just people who really pull data, even developers, they work with data. They will fight me with data. They were like, well, 10 of them don't click this button that we created, but it's going to help you understand why it's important. So surveys and interviews, this is a great way to measure user engagement because most of the time users are just going to be like just because they click it doesn't mean you're getting that exact feedback. You want to hear from them. But nowadays, a lot of people are like, a lot of people won't fill them out. Well, give them something. Give them free access for a week or a month, or give them a laptop. I did this at the last boot camp I worked. We had some things that we wanted to figure out. My boss is like, hey, how can we get feedback and them like actually complete? I'm like, offer them a free iPad or AirPods, because we had AirPods. So she was like, oh, that's not bad. I was like, yeah, because when people get something out of it, they're going to complete it. That's just like my tip. But it's also going to help you in the long run of the user experience. And then metrics. Work with your analyst or get some like data on the buttons. If it's active products, see the patterns that are going on. You will learn so much by just seeing what users do on the current site, and it's going to help you too. And then usability testing, my favorite out of everything, because we actually get to put it out there in a group of people and see how they interact. There's a platform called, I think it's called user-testing.com. I could be wrong, but it's a great platform where you can send your prototype for these small groups of people and they will record what they're doing. And these people are saying what, like they're speaking out loud. And it's incredible because you're really just seeing how people think out loud. They're just like, oh, I didn't think it like that. And you will learn so much alone just by doing that. So think about it before you start testing everything, because it is money, but also like maybe you have a client or your company has short budget to do testing. See if you have a group, like a volunteer group that will do it for free. Buy them pizza. Everyone loves pizza party. So really, there's so many ways you can get this in a low budget, because at the end of the day, it comes down to time and cost. So I like to speak a little bit on that. But in conclusion, I'm going to be honest. It's all about just applying everything you know in your experience. It's learning from every experience. I've learned from every project. I'm never perfect, but just learning from that is what's really going to get you out there and building what you want to build, which could be your brand, your company, or just more UX products out there. But I kept this a little short because I really want to talk to you guys and hear if you guys have any questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Of
And
course.
I understand you also like to have a more conversational style of
Yes.
meeting, and that's really great because it opens up a lot of dimensions as we speak. So first thing I want to ask you is, what defines immersive experience, or what is immersive at all in UX?
Immersive is really coming back to the user and the product. And what's really going to be immersive is when you get those two and they come in sync. Because out there in the world, like, you can have a great UX, but it doesn't go with the user. That's not immersive, or vice versa. So immersive is really one and one together as one, like marriage. If you want to put in that
Awesome.
perspective, you guys.
Awesome. So that's a great answer. That's a good analogy, I feel like. And the floor is open, everybody. So feel free to either mute your mic to ask questions, or you can also put them out in the chat where we can fetch them from. I'll just follow up with a little short question, and then I'll let others ask questions. So for you, how does social media or being a project manager, or how do you leverage that into becoming a UX designer?
Yes. Understanding that perspective, how UX can be implemented. So a lot of the time as a UX designer, you're just coming from the design perspective. But if you really understand like the full circle of like the flow of things, like marketing, how, marketing and social media, it's always linked to something. So how is that link going to go to UX, like the product you're building? So understanding from that to that, and then also understanding from a developer side, working with them is so important, because like the back end of things looks completely different than what you're building. I know there's a product that they have an app, and the app is kind of used like a link tree, which I don't like. I wouldn't recommend it. But the reason why they do that is because in the back end, they need it connected to Salesforce. And the only way they can do that is by doing this method of a link tree. And it was a big debate with this team, with analysts, developers, the UX designer. They were like going back and forth, and like they had to find what's best for their product and service and their team. Because the important thing for them was collecting information of their users. They're like, we need to make sure we have everything. So that's where a lot of the times people were like, why would you transition? I was like, well, my whole experience has led me to become a UX designer. Even with a project manager, understanding time is a big thing, and collaboration. And this is where a lot of times UX designers can like really fall short, because they're like, I don't have enough time. I'm like, you do have time. There's little shortcuts to everything, and you can still have a quality design at the end of the day.
Yeah. I like it. I wanted to ask a little bit about, you were talking about personalization for each user group, and I kind of wanted to know, what are some of your tactics for that personalization? What do you implement, or what have you implemented?
Honestly, personas was like my big thing, just like
Okay.
defining the users, and then also knowing what kind of groups they already have. Most of the times the companies I work, they already have like a group of people. They're like, for example, the church I used to work at, as their digital project manager, we had buckets of people. There was like 5 little buckets, we categorized them and really defined it with user stories. The user stories really helped us in the end, and it was great. I think that's where using all the tools, but making sure like it applies to what you guys are doing. Because not you can do a mapping. It might not work for that client, but maybe it's just a simpler persona and grouping. And grouping, I mean like literally making a title of like the group. Unexperienced, like new users, old users, and then going from there. And then realizing, oh, maybe I need other groups because it's only 2 buckets. So most of the time people really just go too much or do too little. So I'm just recommending a happy medium, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. And I know that there's probably different ways that you reached your audiences, but in regards, like, physical, printed, or digital, but in regards to digital, like, when you were working at that church, did you make like separate spaces for each user group, or like for that experience, like, was there anything special that you did for one group versus another?
I think what we did that really set everything different is we found where they started, which are completely different. We understood that. And that's where the uniqueness of their experience, we're like, okay, we have this one, we have this one. 2 different unique starts, but we found how they can collide, how they can merge, so we can reduce the steps. So the new experience and how the old can come together. Again, the 2 become one scenario. It was like our method for that, because our product at the time was just like the mobile app, and we're like, okay, we have new and old. How can we make their both experience unique and personal? Then how can we merge it into one where they can be together and then engage together? Because our goal was also building community engagement within the platform.
Yeah, I like it. Sounds good.
And that one can also be, how can the both users engage with the company or the product? Because there's always a pinpoint where they both will interact with the same thing.
Yeah.
For example, if you're launching a new product and the new and the old, both are going to hit that point together. So how is that going to look like?
Gotcha. Out of curiosity, what does your kind of brainstorming session consist of? I mean, aside from your design process, like your brainstorming?
I'm actually going to try to pull up an example just so you guys can see. But I am a person that first thing I do is literally define the product, and I already know the user because I did the research very well, just because I love it. But that's where I just go into Figma and start getting competitors. My whole thing is like everyone's competing with each other in some way, or they're learning from one another. So I really just highlight those 2 or 3 competitors out there or similar platforms. I put an example and then I go straight to sketching. I know that's crazy, but it depends also the product process, I would say. But I'll show you an example. It's more organized now, because in the end I organize. I don't make it too messy, but I do a holistic evaluation. Then I go to inspo, sketch, and then I design the product.
Gotcha.
And then I go straight into prototype, and then we're good. And then I show to the developers to move forward if they wanted to. But this is how I think. I think this is like the best method of my brainstorming. It has helped me, but I think it's really what triggers my brainstorming is the inspo. And then the sketch, because I really define the issue with the holistic evaluation. The holistic evaluation really helps me with the product and finding what works and what doesn't work. Because some of the times, a lot of these platforms don't need to change a lot of things, or they just have to move something. They have good features, but they just don't know how to use it. This is one of the churches I did a design for them, or a design challenge with them. So this is a perfect example of a platform that's used with 2 different users, but they merge at one. So yeah, this is where I feel like the spark really charges and then goes through a good idea.
Oh, I have a follow-up question with that. So I see how you break down the heuristic evaluation part, and how deep do you get into heuristic evaluations while you work with clients? Because I see you can go like really deep or somewhat in the middle.
I go into defining 2 to 5 problems first. The big ones, the ones that I know based on research in the past that really will be a hit or miss with the first impressions, or it could be a gap. So with this project, the big gap was that their website does not reflect on their mobile app. So I was like, what's the point of their mobile app then? It looks like a Twitter feed. I said it. I told them the truth. I was like, it looks like Twitter. So it's really finding like what's the biggest gap, defining those 2 to 5, and really working from there. Because we can go so deep in holistic evaluation, but the truth is we don't have enough time in the day. So as UX designers, how can we really help with the big problems, and then the little problems can be solved later on? But even the little problems can be big problems. It could be.
Yeah.
Like a little button not being in a certain place or not having it there could be a problem. So keep it, most of the time it's just not like, oh, they don't have this big hero card. It could be just like they don't have a text and a clear button. That's a small, but that's also a big problem.
Got it. So George, do you have a question?
Yeah, hi Mariana, thank you for a great presentation. My question is about that brainstorming, since we're talking about it. And do you tend to just do your brainstorming on your own, or do you tend to also consider ideation workshops with stakeholders on board, and do some work if beyond just heuristic evaluations, for example, like filtering filtering out solutions based on ones you come up with together as a group?
I think the best way, I think it's just also knowing who you are, and your team. In the past, I've seen like teams can do, like I've worked with teams and we brainstorm together before the client. I always think internal first, then external, because the reason why you want to make sure that you guys are focused on what is the best method versus what the client wants. Because sometimes when the client's influence in that first internal brainstorming, they can block some ideas, And so working with yourself or the team together is the way to go first. And then later on being like, hey, the next revision, let's actually show it to what we think and let's hear back from the client. We can brainstorm with them. Because always the first review is technically the brainstorming with the client. It's not going to, if it ever gets approved that quickly, I'm just a little concerned. I'm just like, okay, what, why was it so good and why was it approved so quickly? So internal, then external. And I think that's the way to go.
Thank you.
Awesome. And we have, awesome. I think there's a question in chat, I believe.
Yeah.
Jackie, did you answer that?
No.
It sounded like, oh, go for it.
Oh, no, you're good. So someone said if it was okay to reach out to me regarding Figma tips. Yes, go ahead. Reach out to me about Figma tips. I'll send you so many videos. I've done this a lot. I'm a Figma freak. Highly recommend going to their conference.
Oh yeah.
which website or which avenues can they reach you out on? Maybe LinkedIn? Is that good?
Yes, LinkedIn. I'm actually going to put my LinkedIn link right now so you guys can contact me there. I'll do it right now. But yeah,
I can get it for you. It's okay.
Oh, thank you. But yes, I think there's so many tools, but the best resource is Figma. They have so many videos. Go there first. The foundation is there. Go to the source, and then you can watch videos. Like there's a well-known founder of a boot camp. I always forget his name. He lives in London, and he's like known for the tagline "super fast." He's a great resource.
Oh, okay. I know.
Yeah.
It starts with a Z.
Yes.
His name Xander or
Xander.
Xander?
It's Xander. Yeah, it's Xander. He has a little wiener dog. He's great. He has these short videos that he's like teaches you something. He's like super fast. Highly recommend watching his videos and then also redoing it. Like do it with him. I told this to students so many times. I'm like, he's literally teaching you, and the only way you're going to learn it is if you practice. So if you have to rewatch a video that's like 15 or 30 seconds, rewatch it. I've done it. I've learned so much from those short videos. But be cautious with other like influencers with Figma because not every method is the best method. So just be cautious that there's so many books out there too, because you can be great in Figma, but if you don't have like the right thinking, I think that's where people fall short. So there's this book called Don't Make Me Think. I feel like you guys can see it. Yes.
Yes.
Highly recommend. I have so many books, but this one, short, simple, easy to read, do it. And then again, just practicing on Figma is the best way. You can watch all the videos, but if you don't apply it, like it's just not going to be great. And it's just when you get your first client, your first project, or whatever stage you are, you're just going to feel like a little bit of unsure. But if you just redo fake projects, literally do a church, do a Peloton, do a dog app. There's so many things you can do just so you can learn.
Awesome. We were just talking about the book you mentioned in the breakout rooms.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So now we got the approval.
Yes, every designer I've talked to in the past has recommended this book. There's so many other ones, but this one is top 3, I would say. There's also a book. It's a little bit pricey. It's like Solving UX Problems. It's like a workout book or a problem solving book, and it really helps you like problem solve issues. So that's a good book if you really are a pen and paper kind of person when it comes to stuff like that. That's a good resource. But again, just starting is the key with anything in life. I tell people to start somewhere and keep on doing it and you'll be fine.
I like it. I've got another question. You super sparked my interest when you showed us the brainstorm board, and I saw the heuristic evaluation, and I kind of wanted to know a little bit about what your process is for that evaluation.
I grab every screen they have. I grab every screen and I just go from start to like end, like a first time user. The home page is like my starter point, and I just go ham on the home page because it's really going to tell me where the gaps are or where it's going to give me a path. But the home, I screenshot a lot. There's a lot of screenshots on my desktop, on my phone. It's really bad. But just I think collecting and laying out, and then you have a start point, and then you can go.
Okay.
But most of the times clients already tell you the problems. Like they already have feedbacks. And if that's the case, still grab everything you can because every screen does have a connection to something. So mapping that out first and then highlighting the problem, and then you can focus on those. And then if you see something else that could apply to that, note it, let them know.
Yeah. Have you ever had a situation in which the client thinks that like their idea of the problem and your idea of the problem are two totally different things? If you have had that solution or
Yes.
that problem, like what do you do in that situation?
Lots. Getting on a call with them.
Okay.
This is where my PM side is just like, if it's really like you're not finding that middle ground and it's just like back and forth messaging, just go with the client. Don't think about what you're coming from. Try to understand where they're coming from. Write everything out and try and be like, okay. And then like rereading it and basically saying your own words back to them. If that makes sense,
Mhm.
then you're in the right path. If there's still a problem, let them know, hey, thank you for giving me the time. Let me work with my team and we'll figure out what's the biggest issue here. And then going with your team, because most of the time it could just be like you're seeing it from one perspective, but your team might see it in a different perspective. So working with your team, leaning onto them is going to be the best resource. And then letting the client know, like, hey, we revised. Please let me know if like we're aligned with the same issue. And a lot of times the clients just didn't know what you meant because the words we use is not the same words they use. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's most of the problem. It's just the verbiage.
Yeah.
So if you have to chat GPT it, do it. Ask chat GPT. I'm a UX designer. My client's saying this. I'm saying this. Can you help me solve the problem? I know that's really bad, you guys, but it's just a shortcut.
Yeah. I'm curious. So aside from ChatGPT, and I know you said that you're like a please don't tell me. Okay. So the ChatGPT, other AI tools, do you have anything that you're using that you like?
I like Notion, you guys. I do like Notion. Notion
Yeah.
with it, like, it's nice. If you want it more personal, Notion's the way. I think ChatGPT just has a good foundation in the sense, like it does a lot of things if you know how to use it.
Okay.
There's like another platform that actually creates presentation or documents and case studies. Shouldn't be sharing it, but yes, case studies. It will actually, if you write like 150 characteristics, it can literally write you a layout of your case study or a presentation. It's super great, resourceful. I have friends who have used it in their workplace just because they had like, as a UX designer, you have like short time when it comes to doing a pitch deck. And so they're like, okay, I need to do a pitch deck now. How can I do it? And they use that sometimes. But I think there's new ones that are coming out that I'm super excited. I heard
Yeah.
Canva is coming out with one and I'm so excited for that. That's like that's my golden one right now.
Yeah.
So
I've used the image generator on Canva and it is crummy,
yeah,
to say the least. The least.
Yeah, I think AI is just going through its hit or miss season, like time right now. But yeah,
some of the AI applications are like phenomenal on there. Like the background remover, I've used that a few times, and that's actually really good. But yeah,
I think I'm just like a golden OG. I'm going to say ChatGPT is like, it's just because I know how to use it so well.
Right. Yeah. I really like Midjourney. Midjourney is really impressive.
Oh,
I've used it a few times for more like image generation for
nice.
very like specific things. So like that microgreens, like I would have
You would have used it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
really
questioning if I should show you guys. It was just again, don't question it because it was only designed for a family member in a very short time. Like they had a presentation, but I show you what we came up with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have been helpful. Thank you. Now in the future, I know how to use it, but I created this.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Very simple. It just, it needed something versus what,
Yeah.
you know, those like Instagram wooden backgrounds, products, light is flashing. That's what I was dealing with. So I came up
Oh
with
man.
this.
No,
So
I think that's great. I think it totally showcases what you're trying to do. And, you know, it doesn't have to be the final. I tell
exactly.
I tell my
It's just a
clients, I'm like, something is better
filler.
than anything, than nothing.
I'd rather give you something that's a little bit better than what you have currently.
Totally.
Just fill in. A lot of students I worked at a boot camp, a lot of the clients had some poor imagery and they will
Mhm.
freak out and be like, there's Pixel, there's so many other places that you can get image, but now with like AI stepping in, I think it's going to be a game changer.
Oh yeah. My partner is a videographer and he uses an AI upscaler for certain things. So I know he bought it, and I don't know how much the program costs, but it takes any image and it upscales it, which has been honest, it's saved my bacon like a handful of times. Um, yeah, the ability to like AI upscale an image, and it's really good too. Like you would have never guessed that
There's
this was
some that
like
are,
a thumbnail.
it's worth it. I'm going to look into it now. I don't know about you guys, but I like
Right.
stuff like that. If it can like shorten the stuff, I'm going to do it. But also like AI cannot fully take over everything because there's a lack of humanness, I feel like. But again, I could be wrong because there's a lot of rumors out there that there's a live IA or AI in the world. And I'm like, okay, I'm just here being a
Yeah.
UX designer. But yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions? Otherwise, oh, I saw
I-
your hand for a single second.
Can I ask, think around that human side you just mentioning there? So
Yeah.
I've had, say, been quite lucky in terms of when I talk with users, it's usually in person, but I'm moving to a new job where it's going to be fully remote. So I'll be speaking with users online. So that usability study you mentioned, you said it was really good. Things like that. How I feel like I'm going to be missing something if I'm doing all online. How do you kind of work with that?
Honestly, take breaks for human interaction one-on-ones. That
Mm.
is, and finding that in a virtual setting could just be literally a Zoom call. I know that sounds weird, but like if you can Zoom, I feel like seeing
Yeah.
fills in that gap. Not and hearing too. It's seeing and hearing are like the biggest thing I've noticed with myself when I work virtually with clients. It's just easier because I'm like, okay, I see you, you see me, I hear you hear me, kind of a thing. Like
Okay.
a kid wants to be heard and seen. That's why I apply. Clearly, I work around with a lot of children. Yes, I'm sorry, I come from a big family. There's a lot of younger things, but I think that's the key. It's just implying that in your everyday. If you're coming from an approach of like, how do I work virtually all day on a computer, get a standing desk. You know,
Mhm.
you want to eat a sandwich, go walk outside and eat your sandwich. Even if it's raining, do it. I've done it. It's great.
Even if
Sounds
it's
It
not.
does.
therapeutic.
It's Florida. It's rainy season. I want to go outside. I was like, it's raining. I'm going to go. Put a hoodie and I went. Just gotta do what you gotta do.
Oh, I also wanted to kind of touch upon the topic that not every design has to be 100% in the sense of, say, you're working for a family member, or it's like a really small scale thing, or maybe it's like a very quick thing. So how do you come to terms with, okay, this amount of quantity or this amount of quality is good enough to get exported? Is it like, how do you get to that conclusion?
When the big, so that project was like, there was no website. Now there's a website. Now there's a product. People can purchase things. I think just like the big features and like them being well done, not perfect because it's never going to be perfect, but well done where the developer can execute it on his end is going to be very helpful. And then doing a follow-up, because this is where you can also sell it where like, hey, we did X, Y, and Z, but we recommend doing this with so it's improving your engagement. Because no matter what, there's always going to be something you can improve, no matter what you do as a UX designer. I've learned this because there's always new things, like Apple's always updating their stuff. It's technology is always improving. So finding that understanding of like, okay, currently we solve the big problems. And also a lot of the times these clients or companies are like a little bit out of date. So getting them up to date is like the best thing for them.
Got it. Got it. And another follow-up question with that. So when you're done with listing out the problems, how do you prioritize them, or what do you do to prioritize them?
Going
And
back
say
to,
these are the
yeah,
top ones.
defining the user stories. So in the sense of, I love user stories. I've written so many user stories in my life, but I think it's just going back to the user you defined, or the users, I mean, and the product and service. So what problem is going to, let's say I have a product that wants to sell a type of bra. What are these problems going to stop the user from getting that product or wanting to be in that, to purchase a product? I think that's really truly finding the goal of what the company is looking for. And most of the time is selling is the big ping point. And finding like, okay, if the navigation, it could be improved, but it's not going to cause the user to be confused from going to the cart, then you're good. But if the navigation is too much and the user can be like, I'm getting lost, where's the cart? Then that's your big problem. The user can't find the cart. Let's simplify
Got it.
in the navigation, and then you focus on that. There's so
Gotcha.
many routes you can think, but that's my method of really just thinking what's going to be the best for the company and what's going to be best for the user at the end of the day. What's the big goal? Which, look at other companies, like we were speaking about bras, Victoria's Secret. What's wrong with their website that the current website is doing great? Or what is they're doing great that is stopping from the clients to have a great user experience for their users? I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that kind of sums up. Yeah, it's a good starting point to go off from.
Starting point, and then I think I can show you so many different routes, but I think it's just the starting point, and then going from there, you find your exit. And most of the time, the exit will start another starting point. So good luck.
Awesome.
I have a
Mhm.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If we still have time, I don't know. But do you remember that list of websites you recommended as like, really good examples?
Yes.
Could you like pick one of those and like just bring it up and like talk about like why you picked it as like good example? Like what stands out about it?
Yes. There's a platform which makes it so much easier. I'm going to show you guys really quick. I'm going to do Calm because I feel like it's just a good one. It's a
Cool.
really good platform. So here we go. So this website, hold on, is it sharing? Okay, so this website shows you the UX of a lot of companies that are already out. So you can search and type in TikTok. Netflix is like, what's currently their design? I use this a lot for holistic evaluation / other things. So with them, I think why I really like them is like truly their sign up process. They really want to personalize the user's experience. So it is going to be lengthy, but they make it a little bit more interactive for them to be like not really bored. And I do that with like a little bit of imagery, even though I'm not a fan with like image background, but they do it very, very well. But this is a great way of like being interactive, keeping it simple. I like that there's not a lot going on, but it looks great. Even though I want to redo their spacing, but that's another conversation for another day. But it's still like simple. I'm thinking about the user. okay, this is great. Nothing, would I make this a little bit shorter? Possibly, but try and also understand like maybe they had to separate it for a reason. Because again, the back end could be completely different from us understanding. So this is a perfect example of like just like how my process is just like, okay, this looks great, love it, but this is where I like it. I like this because it reminds me a little bit of Spotify married iTunes back in the early days. I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but I like it. It makes me feel warm inside. And when you're on an app like this, it's kind of like what you want your users to feel is like warm, cozy, like calm. So like that's what I feel like. And I think they did it very well. I can find everything. They did the scrolling very well. There's so many like platforms that use this method. Thank you, Netflix, for just doing it all the time and that everyone does it now, even Spotify, but it's clear. I'm not confused. I can clearly see there's some things they can make a update with, like maybe the spacing, maybe not have a background of the mountains over there, like maybe just keep a solid color. Like there's things they can improve, but like the main point is why I like this platform. Because I know as a user, I will go here, I know what to do, where to go, how to find things. I'm not really focused on like, oh, that's a terrible background. Why would they put an image and then blend? The user's not really gonna see it. But it could be that the client or the board really was like, let's put that in the background. And the UX was like, okay, how can I still have the client happy and make it a good experience? Happy minute. They got married, they made this beautiful background.
Yeah.
So I think this is like why I chose this was mostly was like, I love it because it's a good reflection of like, there was probably a lot of discussion in the background from the client, the company and the board, whoever, developers, and then the users. And then the merging those. Because a lot of the times people are like, oh, as a UX designer, I would change this, this, and this. I'm like, yeah, a lot of people are, once you work with a client, you're going to realize convincing them and selling them is going to be a hard thing to do in the beginning, but understanding where they're coming from and finding a solution to it that won't hurt their user is going to be the best thing, because at the end of the day, you're on the same team with the client. You want them to have engagement and a great user experience for their audience. So remembering that you guys are on the same team is key. Do not hate your client. I had students who were like frustrated. I was like, don't be frustrated. You guys are on the same team. Best UX experience for this company, period, for their users. So that's how I think. But I'll show you something I would do, like for that project I did. I grabbed these three. So this was YouTube. This was Netflix. And this was Spotify. Why would I grab the most random three stuff for a church app? Is because I know the product very well. I think that's the other big thing. If you know the product that the client is selling or the service, you're golden. I know this church's outlet very well because I worked there, interned there a long time ago. So I was like, oh, they have this worship team. They also have their sermon, so videos, Netflix. Know a lot of like their inspiration comes from Apple TV, but also a lot of their stuff links to things. What's another outlet that people go on their phone to watch videos? YouTube. So I chose these three. I was like, okay, how can I apply some of the UX and UI methods on these three to the church, but also still make sure like the app reflects their website? That's when I go to sketching and I just start brainstorming. And I get their current, like I would copy this. Did it copy? No. Come on. There we go. So I literally will go like this. I'm like, okay, this is what the current, this is my inspo. Let's sketch it. So I just I was like, I know they're not going to change this. They want this because they have so many navigation, so many little groups. And they still keep that. But I don't like the logo. Why do I need a logo on an app that I already know I'm on? That was my thinking process. So I was like, hey, let's just remove that. I don't think it's necessary. And then I'm also thinking about the thumb. This is a mobile app. How can I do this? So I had like little notes. Again, you guys, this was a lot messier. So there was a lot of notes of just like me thinking and like not caring that this is going to be seen by someone, because at the end of the day, it's going to be only seen by me and my team. And then I can clean it up and then talk to my team and be like, hey, this is what I thought, X, Y, and Z. And then forming our collaboration together and then going from there is probably going to be the biggest thing. So this is how I did it. I did like a sketch slash wireframe, helped me get started, that led to me doing this. And a lot of these things are also from their style guide. So also using the client style guide or elements they already have, easy peasy. And they're also, this organization is very big on fast. They're a perfect example of like a company that's always on the go, always changing things. And they're like, we don't have the time to design and build. How can we make it shorter? Templates, stuff they use in the past. So that's where we came at Collide. So that was the outcome. And just so you guys can see it, I'm not trying to convert you guys. I'm literally showing you an example. I always tell people that, but this is their website. So looking at their website and looking at the design, it looks similar versus what they have currently. And that's the biggest thing I was selling to them. And I was telling them, I was like, hey, why is your mobile app look like a Twitter feed when it has nothing to do with your website? I'm like, if you want a link tree, just get a link tree, but we're not going to do that. We want them to have a good mobile app because there's a purpose to it. And then later you can see like little inspos of like, you know, Apple TV, a little bit of YouTube, of their website coming together and still keeping the look and the aesthetics that they want. And then going into prototyping, because that's the best part. And then in prototyping, sometimes you figure out you miss things, and that's okay. I tell people, I'm like, I've missed stuff all the time. I'm gonna make sure we're good. And learning from that, it's okay. I'm probably going to show you guys this and learn so much that I missed. But again, this was a short presentation deck that I did for them just so they can see changes they can make. Because my big focus point was that their mobile app and their website was not reflecting one another. So the consistency was not great. And then the little changes that can also be a problem, like the navigation, I also said that, but something little. So this is the prototype.
That looks really nice.
Thank you. I did this in 2 days. I wanted to cry. I'm just kidding. I didn't. I actually had so much fun with this, guys. But like doing and learning new things. This is where I learned how to do like a little hover and applying that and then like scrolling. And it was so much fun. Like, I think that in the end of the day, like you just want to have fun. So this is what I did and it was great. Did I hear back yet? No, I haven't heard back. I'll find out probably by tomorrow. So wish me luck again.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
good
sharing
luck.
you guys some stuff, but this is like my favorite thing right now. I like to share current things, past things, like my old files, messy. If you want to see a messy one,
Absolutely.
we'll go into the messy one. And this is where you work with team people, like real true teams. There's more than one of you working on the same Figma. And this is one of the messy ones, and I love it. They'll probably kill me. No, they're honestly, they're great people. They were just like, we had too many playgrounds. We called our like messy room playgrounds, and it was a lot. So, but I
It
would
doesn't look very
say
messy.
someone cleaned it up.
Oh.
Someone cleaned it up. Someone did clean it up. This is embarrassing.
Someone's a
Yeah.
type A.
If
You're
this
like, I
is
can't
messy.
handle
This
it.
is so old. This is like
This
a
is-
year old.
Ah!
Someone literally took their time to, okay, I'm gonna leave that. Props to them. Applause.
It's so funny. It's so funny, Mariana. You're embarrassed for it to be clean instead of messy.
I know, because I really was like, I'm gonna show you a true UX file. Wait, was that
Yeah.
the client one? I hope it's
We
just the
need
client.
the
'cause if it's-
authentic, messy one.
Yeah, I want to show you a true playground. Oh, I did show you the client one. That's why it's organized.
Oh,
See, this is what the client saw. And this is what we saw. Oh my goodness, it's so true. When the client, they don't know how we think. They just see the pretty pitch decks.
that's all they need
Oh,
to see.
Figma. Yeah, I'm just like hiding my desktop because it's a little messy in the background. There's stacks of photos. You know, when you're redoing your portfolio, it gets messy, guys.
Yes. It does get
There's
messy.
a lot of screens, but
Redoing the
Figma works.
portfolio is like, it's worse than cleaning the room up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's just,
It's yeah, it's not for me right now. I'm just like, I don't want to look at my portfolio. No, my portfolio is good. I need to add stuff to it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people are like, okay, can you fill in the gap of your experience and how it ties? That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And if
Oh.
Figma would work faster. Yeah, because a lot of time hiring managers are just like, or like clients just like,
Mhm.
like tell me how this all connects. Why did you become a UX designer? I'm like, oh, well, Figma's not gonna load, but you know, it's messy. Just trust me, it's a messy file. That's
Yeah,
never
we
gonna show.
believe you.
Figma is,
the more time it takes to load, we know how
yeah.
good it is, like the
If it
benchmark
takes
for
this
that.
long, it's because there's like 20 pages.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a hot mess.
That is a hot mess.
I love it.
It's awesome.
I
Alright,
do
well-
recommend be messy and then organize, and then you're good. But I think that's it, you guys. Thank you.
Yes. Thank
Yes.
you so much for coming on and
course.
presenting. That was a fabulous
Of course.
presentation.
Anytime.
And
Well, thank you. Guys.
Absolutely. And of course, if we run out of time and everything, but we'd love to have you back again. There's
Yes.
a lot more questions that I'll have for you next time about
Yeah.
how you started your own company, how you transitioned into that, and you also seem to be a LinkedIn expert. So
Yeah.
definitely love to talk more to you. And
Yes.
please feel free to
Of course,
remain in
anytime.
touch with us.
Of course, if you guys ever have a topic, let me know and we can see if we can talk on that. I would love to. But thank you guys. I hope you guys
Sounds
have a
good.
great night. Bye,
Yes.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you. You
Bye.
too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thanks.